What's up, guys? It's Colbert here, back with another edition of the Colbert Vape Report, and today we are going to take a look at some more sub-ohm clearos. We have the Kanger Subtank Mini and Nano. Stay tuned. Alright, so I received these for the purposes for review from cigabuy.com. There's a link down in the description where you can find them. The first website I pulled up with pricing is myvaporstore.com. For the Subtank Mini, it is $34.95, and the Subtank Nano is $26.95. Now, go over just a few specs before we go down up close and talk about it. This is the 22mm version of the Kanger Subtank. The original was 25mm, unfortunately. The new ones come with peak insulators in the coil. The old ones came with like a ceramic material that was breaking and causing major leaking. I will also be going over how to fix leaking in these Subtanks. They use all organic cotton coils, which you can rebuild. This has a 4.5ml liquid capacity. It is a 510 connector. It does not have a adjustable 510. And it comes with two types of coils, a sub-ohm 0.5 or 1.2s, and a rebuildable section. The Mini is, well, just a little bit smaller. This is the 18mm version. It has the 0.5 and 1.2 ohm coil heads as well, but it does not come with the rebuildable section. And it only holds 3 mils of liquid. So let me take a vape real quick. I am running this on the E-Cig 50 watt at 27 watts. It's giving me 4 volts. The E-Cig reads it at 0.6, and my old IPv2 reads it at 0.4, so it's somewhere between there. Let's have a vape. This is wide open airflow, by the way. Vape's great. Now for the Nano, just to give you a comparison, this is wide open. Pretty much the exact same vape, just with a little bit smaller form factor. So let's go down up close and take a look at the Kanger Subtank Mini and Nano. Alright, so first up here we have the packaging for the Subtank Mini. You can see it's a very, very nice package. Got a little juice on it, but it all works all the same. It has your Kanger information down here on the bottom. On the sides, you just take off this inner sleeve, and you get a box that says Subtank Mini. And then the side pulls out here. Nope, son of a bitch. Drop the tanks. This does come with a, I guess this is a warning of sorts. This is telling you to always prime these coils because these are all cotton coils. They need to be primed because if you dry fire these or you do not prime these and you take a hit, as soon as you press that button, your cotton will burn. So you must prime these coils. They say put 2 to 3 drops. I usually put like 5 or 6 drops in there. Just make sure the head is fully saturated, the outside of the head is fully saturated, and you get a alternate language version on this side. Then your Subtank would be sitting right here. Inside the box you have a manual. You have some warranty information. This tells you how to authenticate and how to activate your warranty. You have a pretty good instruction manual in here. However, as many other reviewers have said, it does not have any warning information about how you need a mod that can fire at least 25 to 30 watts and can fire down to 0.5. So keep that in mind. You have a piece of organic cotton here for your RBA section. You have a nice little package here full of your other O-rings, some screws for your RBA section, a pre-built coil, and another blue screwdriver. You get a replacement peak tank. It looks like very good quality. Then you also get a 1.2 ohm head and your RBA head. Now let's get the RBA head out of here so I can show you that, because the Mini does not have that. So it's pretty much just like the Delta. If you have the Delta, it's almost the same concept. You just have your chimney here. It's like a I guess you could call it a K-Fun style, but it is easier to trap the wires in here. It is easier to trap the wires in here because of the way that the screws go in. So you set your coil up there like you would on a K-Fun, and then you just take your wires and you trap them underneath these screws right here. The airflow comes in through the bottom, and you are good to go. You can see the juice channels right here, so you would just run your cotton through, touching the juice channels like you would anything else. Then you would put your chimney back on. The threading feels a little cheap on this. Then you put your top cap back on. You would thread it, and you would be good to go. I just haven't really had a need for it because I like the original coils. The original coils work just fine for me. Alright, that's it for the Mini. Now let's move on to the Nano. Now the Nano is pretty much the same concept. You have your outer sleeve, you have your inner, then you have your warning here telling you to make sure to prime the heads. Make sure you do that, guys. I can't stress that enough. You have your manual, which once again does not tell you to watch out for 0.5 ohm heads, and you need at least the wattage, so keep that in mind. On this one you get the replacement glass right here on top. You also, it looks like you get 2 O-rings on the inside, and you get a 1.2 ohm head. Now the Nano does not come with the RBA section because they had to take it down to 18 millimeters. Or if you want the RBA section, go with the Mini instead of the Nano. All of this wording really confuses me. They should have just went with the regular Subtank as 22 millimeter, and then the Subtank Mini being 18 millimeter, not having a 25, 22, and 18. But hey, I'm not Kanger. Alright, so here we have the Subtank Mini. This is the 22 millimeter Subtank. You can see here we have a big red O-ring here on top and an O-ring on bottom. I didn't think I would like the look of this, but I've come to like it very much. Here on the top we have a removable drip tip, a nice little thing, a nice little well in there, so this should be able to fit any 510 compatible drip tips. This top piece does not come off for cleaning, so keep that in mind. Now here on the bottom you have your adjustable airflow system. Now this does have detents. You can have it fully closed off. You can have one airflow hole, dual airflow holes, and fully open. I usually run it fully open, but I would say if you want a more K-Fun-like experience, you could put in the RBA coil, or you could put in the rebuildable head and drop it down to the first one and get a nice vape. Here on the bottom you can see this is not a adjustable 510, but it does look to be a gold-plated insulator down there. As you can see, you unscrew the bottom. It unscrews just like any normal clearomizer. Then you have your head. Now you can see inside the head there's some wire and some cotton. The cotton is saturated. It has 2 entry holes for the juice. So whenever you first get this, it would have the coil installed. You would just make sure you take some juice, drip some into this right here, which I will do for you now. I'm using some Mad Hatter Vaping Honeydew, which I mixed into 3 milligram. So you would just take it and put, oh, son of a bitch, not miss, 2, but a couple drops in there, and that way you make sure that is good and primed. Now, in order to fill the tank, I don't really need to fill it much because it's already pretty much filled, but I will show you. You have your little tube down there that goes into the airflow. You just take your dropper or whatever you just take it, and you make sure to fill it down the side until it gets just about to the top of that lip in there. And once you do that, you just take it, make sure your hole in your coil is centered, screw it on, and you are good to go. You would just sit and watch for bubbles. See, there's one little bubble coming up right there. You'd probably let it sit for a couple minutes because this is all cotton. After that, you are good and ready to vape. The dimensions on this is it's 2 inches in length and 3/4 inches in diameter without the drip tip, and so that is 22 millimeters, and it holds 3 mils of liquid. Now onto the Nano. The Nano is pretty much the same concept, just in a smaller package. You have a smaller drip tip up here that is removable. Look, it looks like it is a standard 510 drip tip. Just pops in. You have the same airflow control, though it does seem to be a little bit smoother on the Nano. You have closed, 1, 2, and wide open. Here on the bottom, it looks like you have a silver-plated copper connection. And then filling procedures are pretty much the exact same. You just unscrew the bottom. You would make sure to prime your coil. You can see it uses the exact same sub-ohm coil. You would just prime your coil, fill it up down the sides, put this back on, ready to go. Now, there's been a lot of complaints from people saying that these leak. One of the reasons they would leak is that on the old ones, the insulators would burn out and crack, and they would leak. But also, there is another reason. If you do experience any leaking, this is how to fix it. Now, all you would have to do is in one of these openings on the sides, you can see there's the cotton that goes from left to right to the openings. But there's 2 openings on the sides, that's where your airflow goes through. If you are getting some leaking, you need to take a strip of cotton about 3/4 of an inch by 1/4 inch thick and a paper clip, and you would just stuff the cotton down one side of the coil. Pretty much what's happening is that on some of the coils they did not put enough cotton in there, and it's just leaking down the bottom and through the 510 connection and into your airflow. So if you are getting leaking, you just take a 3/4 by 1/4 inch of Japanese cotton and a paper clip, and you would shove it down one side of the coil and leave the other side open. If you shove it down both sides, you're not getting any airflow through. So that is a fix for the leaking issue. That's usually what it is. It's either not enough cotton, or you got one of the old ones where the insulators were bad. And now I'm getting juice everywhere. So that's about it for the close-ups. Let's go back out to the regular view, talk about it, vape on it, and I'll give you my final thoughts. I know it's Friday the 13th, so that's probably why I've been dropping shit all day. Final thoughts on these tanks. I love them. Actually, compared to the Atlantis, I like the Subtank more. Yes, I don't get as hot as a vape. You can run it up to 30, but if you chain vape at 30, you can start getting dry hits. But I usually just run it fully open airflow, 27 watts on my iStick 50. You can see it's a nice setup. It sits flush on the iStick 50. Flavor is amazing. Vapor production is very good. I would say that the flavor is a lot better than the Atlantis. I can't really compare it to the Delta right now. My coil in the Delta is burnt out, so I have to wait on a replacement coil, and then I will compare that. But I am going to be doing a clearomizer shootout, all the new sub-ohm clearomizers, comparing them to each other later on in a future video. But the Subtank Nano, or the Subtank Mini, I really, really like. I think they should have just released this one first. So they should have just released a 22mm first and called it the regular Subtank, and then released the 18mm and called it the Subtank Mini. And they would have been fine. I feel bad for people that bought the 25, but I mean, you do get a little bit more juice capacity and all that. But 4.5 mils is more than enough. The Subtank Nano, it works just as well. You can run it, if you only want to run 20 watts, which I recommend 25, but to each their own. And this is it on the IPv2, running at, it's rating it at 3.4, so I'm running it at 30 watts. The airflow is very similar in both. I would say that the Nano is just a little bit more restrictive, but not much. Yeah, the Nano is a little bit more restrictive. They are more restrictive than the Atlantis. However, they do produce better flavor than the Atlantis. So overall, these are awesome, awesome tanks. If you do happen to have leaking issues, if you have the old insulators, you can contact Kanger and they will send you new coils with the updated peak insulators inside the coils so they don't break. Also, if you're getting leaking, do what I said. You have the wicks on the two sides and then the coil in the middle. You would just take a little bit of cotton and stuff it into one side and leave the other side open for airflow, and that should fix all your leaking issues. Enjoy my review of the Kanger Subtank Mini and Nano. I will see you in the next video, and as always, happy vaping.